I started using LeetCode a couple of months ago, and honestly, I've had a lot of fun with it. I've already completed 33 problems, including some hard and medium ones, which I'm really pumped about. However, I'm still pretty far away from the 100 problem milestone. So, in today's video, I'm going to try to get closer to that by seeing how many problems I can complete in 1 hour. Now, there are going to be a couple of regulations for this challenge. First of all, I have the time limit of 1 hour. Second of all, I'm going to allow myself to skip problems. However, I will only allow myself to skip 3 problems. So, if I end up skipping more than 3 problems, I actually have to go back and complete a problem that I already skipped and keep my skip problems at only 3. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to try to do the easiest problems possible. I'm going to filter by language to keep everything on Python, and I'm going to filter by difficulty to try to keep everything easy and the acceptance rate high. Hopefully with all these regulations, I will be able to complete at least like 10 LeetCode problems. I don't know. I want you to drop it in the comments how many you think I can do. Starting this challenge, I'm actually ranked 2,607,915 on LeetCode, which is pretty bad if I'm going to be honest. But we're going to go over here to our problems and set up the filter for the challenge, and then we're going to get the timer going and get everything started. As you can see, I've already done a number of problems, so we're just going to go ahead and start off by filtering by problems that I have not completed yet. So is not attempted or solved. So is to do. And now we're also going to set this difficulty to easy. We're going to set the language to Python 3, because apparently there are different ones. And with the filter, we are going to sort by acceptance, hopefully getting us the easiest problems. We are also going to have to avoid these locked ones, but other than that, we should be able to go from up all the way to the bottom and complete, hopefully, a whole lot of LeetCode problems. We will also have the problem list in our sidebar, so we won't have to go back and forth to search for other problems. And without much more to do, it's time to start the challenge. I'm going to have a timer up here in the top right. Hopefully it won't block my view too much. And we're just going to start. The first problem wasn't exactly the problem that I would expect to have the highest acceptance rate, but it wasn't too hard either, and it was a simple modification of a counter program. Problem 1920 was really easy as well, as I simply had to make an array, and it basically told me exactly what I needed to do. I ran into a little bit of trouble with the find the maximum achievable number problem. However, after thinking about the problem for a while, I eventually came to the conclusion, using the examples, that it was just an equation, and it ended up being a really simple one-liner as the final solution. The next problem was simply searching a word to see if a character is in the word, and that wasn't too hard either. Problem 1929 ended up being, I would say, the second easiest problem that I encountered throughout the entire challenge. And even though it was called concatenation of array and it had a really complex description, it was literally just adding 2 arrays together, and it wasn't that hard. And then I had the temperature problem, which all I had to do was return an array converting a temperature in Celsius to Kelvin and Fahrenheit, so that was pretty easy as well. I finally ran into trouble around the 13-minute mark with problem 1863, where it had to do with XOR, and I don't know what XOR quite is. I've heard of it before, I kind of know what it is, but without using Google, there wasn't any way that I could see that I would be able to solve this, so I simply decided to skip it, using up my first skip of the entire challenge. And of course, the next problem ended up being a really easy one-liner, where all I had to do is use Python's .replace method. I will say problem 1512 gave me a little bit of difficulty, but by using the counter object in Python, I was able to go through it pretty easily. The next problem wasn't a one-liner, but it wasn't difficult either, as all I had to do was look for a plus sign in a word, and based on that, I would end up either incrementing or de-incrementing a counter. Problem 3467 actually gave me quite a bit of trouble, as for some reason I forgot how to sort an array, and I was using the methods incorrectly, but I eventually managed to figure it out, as that is something that should not have given me as much trouble as it did. We are actually nearing the halfway mark, and it's been a blast moving through these problems. Not sure how many I've done, but I've gone from here, so that's 1, 2, it's gotta be like somewhere around 10. I mean, this is really good pace. Problem 771, joules and stones, was also pretty simple, as it gave you a joule and you just had to find out if the stone was also a joule. I'm also not worried about my time complexity. Usually with Python it's not the best, but with these simple problems, hopefully I won't get a timeout error, which can be really annoying in LeetCode. It had been a while since I had last used a one-liner to solve the problems, and I was wondering if this was because they were getting harder, and it seemed like they were. But the next problem, I was able to finesse a really nice one-liner, converting a boolean into an integer and summing them up in problem 3190. So I had reached the halfway mark, 30 minutes in, and the next problem I decided to spend 10 minutes on. Problem 1470 just was really confusing for some reason, and even though my logic seemed to be correct, any of the methods I tried didn't work. Okay, I do not know what is wrong with my logic here. I've tried a couple of different things, but I think I'm gonna have to skip this problem as well. So I wasted 10 minutes on that, and I decided to use my second skip of the challenge on this problem. And of course that was followed by a really easy one-liner. I followed that one by catching the sneaky numbers of Digitville, which was a really easy program that just had to find duplicates. I think I probably wasted a lot of time in this challenge working on some of the not necessarily difficult problems, but problems that I had forgotten something for and could not do. And then I encountered another really difficult problem. Problem 3280, convert date to binary, was for some reason difficult because although I have converted numbers to binary before, in fact I have a program written that deals all sorts of with like binaries and hexadecimals and stuff, this problem was kind of difficult, and in the time limit that I had, I decided that I would skip it as I was struggling to come up with any form of solution, simply converting a normal number to a binary, much less the entire date. I would also end up wasting about 10 minutes on this problem as well. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I'm done with this problem. I spent way too long doing it and I've gone nowhere. Problem 1684 wasn't the easiest, but it wasn't the hardest. Once again, all I had to do was check to see if a word was made up of only the allowed characters. Oh yeah, and of course after hard ones that I spent so long at thinking, oh yeah, the next one's gonna be, we're gonna enter the hard ones now, it's just gonna be super easy. Like, I don't even know at this point. I mean, if I had spent like probably half an hour on a couple of hard problems, I could have done so much more. That was followed by a really easy mathematical problem. And then I was able to ace a really weird problem about giving candy to kids. And that was whenever I got to problem 2235. Now, remember that going into this problem, I had 3 skips. So if I wanted to skip this problem, I would have had to go back and solve another problem. Yeah, no, this problem was literally just adding 2 integers together. I don't know how this isn't the easiest problem in all of LeetCode, but I didn't have time to think about that because I only had 5 minutes left and I was already out of my 3 skips. Now, we could end the challenge very easily at the last problem, the sum problem, because in the spur of the moment, I actually forgot that I had skipped 3 problems already and I thought I had only skipped 2. So whether or not you count these last couple of problems is completely up to you. Because I go to problem 3541 and I think it's just too complicated for the time I have, and so I, thinking I have a skip left, decide to use that last skip and go to a different problem. Actually, I think this one's gonna take too long compared to what else I can get, so I'm gonna skip it and hope that the next ones aren't too bad. However, the next problem that I encounter ends up being an even harder problem that has to do with 2D arrays, something I was definitely not messing with. Shoot, this one is not a good one either. Alright, we're going back to the other one. So I went back to the vowel problem and I decided to complete it, and looking at the answer, it wasn't actually that hard. Yes, we got that submitted. Maybe we can get one more. We're skipping the next one. I don't know what the next one is. After completing said problem, I was really anxious, quickly skipped the 2D array problem, and went on to the last one, which I ended up going about a minute over completing, even though it was really a simple replace problem. So whether or not you want to count the last two, because I used an extra skip and it went over the time, is completely up to you. So we do end up getting it. Like, obviously this took me like an extra minute. I just wanted to do it. Anyways, this hour has been fun. It's time to see what I've been able to do in an hour. We've done a lot more than I expected. I thought this would be a whole lot harder, but like the sum problem, add two integers. Like, tell me why this is not the easiest. This is the easiest problem in the entirety of LeetCode. Like, I genuinely think we found it. Like, how do 12% of people get this wrong? In any language. I could do this in just about any language. Watch this. Return num1 plus num2. Now obviously I'm like I know a little bit of C+, okay. If I remember correctly, we had 33 problems done. Maybe we got to 50. That's actually the target. The target is gonna be 50. See if we did it. Or to go to my thingamajiggy. 53 solved. That's incredible. We just did 20 in 1 hour. I don't know why my rank is still staying the same. Hopefully that updates soon. Okay, so it is the next day and I am here super pumped to show you the results in my change in ranking, as I have moved up to 1,900,000th in the world of all of LeetCode, which is, once again, not the best. Like, I'm still in the millions, but we moved up about 70,000 rankings in an hour. Like, that's kind of insane. And that was all using no Google, no comments. Like, I didn't do anything. It was just me, my brain, and I, and Python. So that's pretty cool. I'm not quite at 100 problems yet though. So if you want to see that happen, drop a like, comment, subscribe. Let's see if we can reach 100 subscribers before I reach 100 problems completed on LeetCode. There you go. That's a challenge for y'all. But yeah, so that's enough for today. I'll see y'all later.